In this week's episode of Adaptation, Deborah sits down with Diane Marie Brown, the author of Black Candlewomen. Find out what happens when her debut novel gets optioned for TV by Jenna Bush Hager, then a writer's strike hits Hollywood.
Hi, Diane. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Of course.
We are here to talk about Black Candlewomen,
Yay.
which appears backwards to viewers. I wanted to start off talking about your writing life, your history of writing books or short stories or whatever you wrote before.
Well, Black Candlewoman is my debut. So it's the first book that I published. It's not the first book that I wrote. I've actually written a few other books, as I'm sure your audience might be aware that sometimes it's not the first book that sells. And so yeah, I've been writing since I was fairly young. My mom taught elementary school and she always encouraged me to write and tell stories. I was an only child, so I was by myself a lot. And so I would just make up stories. And she, as a teacher, just had like all this scrap paper, and she was a crafter. So she would make these little books. So I would just write these stories about, who knows what was going on. Similar.
Did she make like empty books for you to write in, or did you write stories and then she turned them into books?
No, she would make these empty books. They're kind of like remind me of like journals today, but she was a crafter. So it was just like cardboard and a little bit of like the padding that you use in quilts, and then she would wrap it in fabric. It was like three little parts, the spine and the front and the back. And so I had fun writing, but I never thought about it as a career. So when it was time to go to college, I was very practical. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be an econ major, pre-business. I'm gonna open my own business. Who knows what that business was? I just, I kind of,
Business.
that's what I pictured. You go to college and then you get the suit and the briefcase and you go to a high-rise building somewhere doing who knows what. I moved down to Los Angeles to go to school, and my sophomore year, I had a daughter so I was pretty young. I was 19, and just in my spare time, I kind of I went back to reading, and that's when I came across Terry McMillan. I think I started with Waiting to Excel, and then I read, I think, Disappearing Acts. I kind of read what she had available at the time. And it was the first time where I kind of thought, like, oh, wow, this is a Black woman who is writing books that are contemporary at the time. And
Representation, like seeing somebody that looked like you represented in a field that you never imagined, kind of made you realize that it was possible.
yes, because I think before that, my reading taste, it was very it's on the tip of my tongue, Sweet Valley High. But
Incredible books.
right. But nobody in Sweet Valley High looked like me. I just kind of thought that these books are made somewhere by these a special group of people, and they're the ones that get to write books, and we all get to read them, but that's not something that I
Yeah.
would ever think about doing. So come Terry McMillan, and I start learning a little bit more about her background, and I'm like, oh, well, maybe I could write a book. So I tried in my 20s to write a book. It wasn't a very good book because I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah, no, it's your first pancake.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a very, very bad pancake. Um,
What was it called?
Oh, I don't even know, but it was just a mirror of what my friends and I were doing at the time. There was no like beginning, middle, and end. It was just like fun times and
Yeah. Yeah.
no drama, no arc or anything. But I still try to pitch it. And of course, I heard nothing. Then I went to grad school and started working in public health. I got married, I had more kids, and I'm just doing life, I decided to go back to school. So USC had something called the Master of Professional Writing program, and it was really designed for working professionals. My area was fiction, even though I took classes in all the other areas, especially screenwriting. I took quite a few screenwriting classes. And that is where I started Black Candlewoman.
Can you give me your synopsis of the
Sure.
book?
Black Candlewoman tells the story of a group of, or a family of all women, 4 generations that live in the same house, who are dealing with a curse that kills anyone with whom they fall in love. And so the book begins when the youngest of this family, a teenager, brings home a love interest for the first time. She's unaware of the curse. And as a young person who wants to be in love, she is really focused on trying to break the curse when she learns what's going on. And we also go back to 1950s New Orleans, where we learn about the curse's origin that was put into place by a voodoo sorceress. And so after I graduated from that program, I kept working on it for about another year, year and a half, tried to find an agent and was unsuccessful.
This agent search process, was it later? Now we have the database online. Did you do it online or did you still go to
Yes.
Barnes and Noble and get that like big book
Yes.
names?
Yes, by then I had gone online. Although we were still mailing things for some reason.
That's a huge stack of paper to
Right.
mail. And
Yes.
expensive as a broke ass writer, like
Yes.
selling to 10, 15, 20 agents.
And I got a couple of full requests, but nobody was really biting. And I'd revise a little bit, and then a few years later, try again. And I kind of was hearing kind of the similar problem, that people were saying I had pacing issues, which I
Uh,
didn't really understand what that meant at the time. But basically, it's I guess, a way of saying nothing's happening or it's boring. Then in 2020, we had the pandemic and I was busy working with the health department. And then we had the unfortunate reality of George Floyd. And there was a particular literary house, an imprint of a major publisher, who said that they would read and give feedback on fiction from Black creators or Black writers who did not have agents.
oh
Because
wow.
I know that there are barriers, including racism, but other types of barriers that keep Black writers from getting agents, getting deals. The biggest thing that for me was they said that they would offer feedback.
You had said some of the agents said pacing, but each person has a different point of view on what's wrong, right?
That
Or what they
also.
think is wrong, or what they think needs changing. And it's either that or they don't say anything. They just say thank you, or you never hear back. So it's very difficult unless you're in school and or have a group, a writing group of trusted readers to get feedback from. If you get all this rejection, you don't know whether it's all bad or what's bad or
Right.
what you can change or if it's just, if it's not worth it. So that's amazing that they offered that to you.
Couple weeks after I sent my query, there's a query in I think 5 or 10 pages. There was an editor there who said she would be interested in reading the entire manuscript. The day I heard from her, I got COVID.
Oh my God.
So I was feeling terrible, but then I get this email and she said, "Hey, I'd like to see the full manuscript." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
When you get news like that, because it's such huge news, because it
Right.
takes so long to get any responses, and they're all negative until there's that one. Oh yeah, I'd be interested to read your manuscript. Um, what is your initial reaction? Because my initial reaction is always to like freak out and feel overwhelmed and like shut down the computer and go to bed. It's like not,
I,
it doesn't feel joyous. It feels
yes,
like it feels too painful.
I can't focus. I can't sleep. Even if I try to sleep, the wheels are turning.
I think about the future. I think like this is such good news, but is the next one going to be bad news? I start immediately like thinking of yeah, all
Yes.
the bad things that are going to happen after the good thing.
Yes.
I might need to look into that. Anyway, so okay, so you're like You fix it up as much as you possibly can and you send it off.
And then I don't hear anything. The period ends when they're accepting submissions, and I didn't get feedback or anything. So that was in the summer, and it was only later that I found out that they had 900 submissions. So in December of 2020, I get an email from the editor saying, "Hey, we really like your book. I'm interested in it, but I have to make sure that the entire team is supportive because I something you may not realize as a new writer is that it's not just the acquiring editor, but they have to get support from other editors, from their bosses, from even like sales and marketing.
They have to pitch your book that you've
Yes,
to them.
exactly.
Yeah.
So she said, I should hear something in the new year.
That's such a hard month.
Right, right. And then it was, I think, in March when I finally heard back that they wanted to buy my book, but I needed an agent.
So just so everybody knows, like that is no publisher will actually, in generally speaking, in normal times, accept a manuscript from a writer that's not represented.
At the big five, I'd say that would be rare. But smaller publishers, independent publishers, they have a little bit more flexibility, and sometimes you can pitch the editors directly, or they might be willing to work with a writer without an agent.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I'm only familiar with the five.
the five. Yeah.
So what was that process like getting an agent when you already have a publisher? How did that work?
Right. So they knew of an agent that they'd worked with, um, that they shared with me, and they said they would be willing to reach out to her and you know, let them know what was going on about their interest. And so she's my agent now.
Is there any point where you have a discussion with your agent about pitching the book for film and TV?
That's a great question. No, not at all. We we were just trying to get the book revised, edited.
Right.
So my editor had quite a few notes, and so there's four points of view characters
Yeah.
technically, and so making a change in one place, it can have a domino effect, and you have to scramble things. And so, the revision process wasn't as straightforward, especially if we were introducing new story elements or taking certain elements out or,
And you
uh,
go back in time, so anything that happens in the past that you're going to change, you have to change through every character's point of view in the future.
right. I think I've kind of made it seem like these edits or suggested edits like a were like burdensome. They're not. I think she helped me write a better book.
You're all done with the process, and the book's coming out in.
Set to come out in March of 2023.
Okay.
So I finished writing it in about May, June 2022, a lot of time before the pub date because they're working on their sales plan. Their salespeople have to reach out to bookstores and try to get them to buy a certain number of copies of the book. And the marketing team is figuring out how they want to place the book and what kind of ads they want to use. They are also sending out the book to influencers and to the various book clubs. So they
Yeah.
have to send those out pretty early. So even not the finalized form, like a galley that they're sending out. So the book was scheduled to come out in March, but in August, I got an email from my editor. She asked if I had time for a phone call later that night.
Didn't say what it might be about.
In my mind, I'm thinking always, not always, but often, oh, they're gonna cancel the deal. Like it's off. They've changed their mind. It's too much work.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and
You
so,
suck. Yeah.
yes, exactly.
Oh my.
So when I got the note, I was like, oh man, I've finished writing it. I was finally kind of relaxing, like, what is going on now? But luckily at the bottom, she said, nice news.
Oh,
She's like, I just need
was
to,
it in like fine print?
yeah, yeah. Because she said, I need to, and she said, I have to finalize a time because I would need, she need my agent to be on the call too. And I'm like, oh man, what is this all about?